Hello, I'm Yan Cheng, and this is going to be my Bmd Reflection. I plan to do like a vlogging format because I think this will actually be more authentic than like writing a journal down, and that's like a bit boring. So I want to try something more special, I guess. So my whole reflection will be in this format. So it might take a little long. I'm not sure how long it will be, but hopefully I get to share how I think about this whole module as a whole. So for the first question is, what are your top three most significant discoveries about business model development and venture creation? So first thing I want to talk about is the BMD lessons. So this class is actually very different from like our normal modules. So like most of our modules is just lecture, tutorial, then exam, lecture, tutorial, exam, and there's like no fun element to it. Maybe like the only different module would be LEI, where there's like more activity based learning, but I think BMD is the one that stands out the most and is like most applicable to me. So like the interactive classes actually allowed most of us to stay focused and actually allow us to stay awake, which is a very important thing, I guess, because like I like to sleep a lot in class, but because the classes weren't so interactive and so fun, so I guess it didn't really I didn't even feel like I need to sleep or want to sleep during the business model development lessons. Yeah. So another thing was like the activity based approach that we took to learn all our concepts and everything. It's really much better than what we are learning now, because right now we are learning like, for other modules we are learning like 5 chapters, then we do a test, then another 5 chapters, then we do like a year end test. That to me isn't really practical, and most of them we are only learning theory, we are not actually applying it in the real world. But this module actually gives us a lot of like space and a lot of trial and error, I guess, because like we learn about, like the first week we learn about a human centric approach, then we were straight away supposed to apply it. Like we were to go out and actually like make observations about the school and find problems in the school. I guess this really helps us to actually learn more, because like that's just one example. Then there's also a lot of different things, like when we learn entrepreneurship thought and action framework, then we get to like apply it throughout our entire business model, which is really quite cool and quite interesting, because like we establish our business as the module goes along and allows us to learn a lot more and actually apply it into our business, which makes it like a more complete learning experience. Next thing, I guess, the another significant discovery I have was the entrepreneurship thought and action framework. I think that was really quite useful, because like when when I think about doing a business last time, I wouldn't think about like really reflecting on what's not working, what's working. I'll just straight away think, what's the best thing, what's the best thing, what's the next step, what's the next step. I won't really take a step back, look at what I've done not well, then after that move forward to fix that thing. I'll just keep on trying to move forward, but if I don't look backwards, I feel like I'm not actually really solving a problem. I'm just trying to like amplify the business, which isn't the way it should be, I feel, now that I've known more about this framework. Like in history classes, I always learn, because I was a history student, so I always learn that like we learn history because we don't want to make the mistakes that people made in the past. That's why like we learn about Hitler. We don't want to do things that Hitler did in the past. And I guess, okay, although it's a weird analogy, but I guess business is the same. You take a step back, you look at what you've done wrong, and then you learn not to make the same mistakes again, and you learn how to improve yourself through these mistakes that you have made. Yeah. And the third most significant discovery that I made is probably the value proposition. So value proposition is very, I think it's the largest takeaway I have from this module. Like I always think that to sell something you need like a unique product, and like that's it. But I actually never really thought about putting a value behind the product. Like as I've shared during the forum, my dad's business is selling watches, but like right now the economy isn't doing so well. So like I asked this business guy who is my girlfriend's cousin's husband, as I said. So he told me it's not that actually the economy is going bad. It's more like the economy is changing. People are not really buying products anymore. They're buying the value behind the product. So like purchasing a watch isn't just purchasing a watch anymore. It's purchasing the watch and the story and the value behind the watch. So I guess that's why luxury brands are not really filling their business, because they sell, other than selling a watch, they're actually selling the craftsmanship behind the watch. But like for my dad, he's only selling cheap watches, and that's his only value proposition. So I guess that's why business is slowing down. So looking at my business, or rather like the business we've created through this module, Flip, I think our value proposition is very, very strong. I really believe in the value proposition, like the like promote these phone covers for the deaf and mute community, promote conversations and everything. But I guess not everyone's on the same boat, so I guess that's why we're not really executing the plan. So yeah, but I really think that value proposition is one thing that will help me. Yeah. So the second question is, has you and all your group have been sorry. Okay, so basically moving on to the next question. So has you or your group been resourceful or effective, especially in the areas of human-centric design, crafting, value proposition, financials, and the adoption of entrepreneurship thought and action framework? And what are some of the developmental points or areas or improvements that we have identified? So first I want to talk about the human-centric approach. So basically that's like design thinking and stuff. So first I want to just say that actually design thinking approach, it isn't my first time learning it. So I actually did it once in Malang when I went to OSIP. So basically what I was supposed to do in OSIP was my group was selected to go to a chicken farm, and we have to identify a problem there using the design thinking framework and try to solve it for them. But I think the way we did it isn't very authentic, and also because my lecturer wasn't really trained in design thinking, so he actually made us do it wrongly. Yeah, and we actually had to change our problem statement like 5 times over the entire course of the trip, and even up to the last minute when we already were coming up with a solution, he still made us change our problem statement. And that's why I feel like I didn't really learn much about design thinking, and that's why I came into BMD with the thought that design thinking isn't useful at all. But I guess that wasn't really the right framework or the right thought, and you certainly proven it to me, or this module has certainly proven it to me, that actually design thinking is actually useful to a large extent. So why I say this, right, is because especially for the observations part, I always, when you told us to make observations, I always made like it wasn't observations that I made, it was more of like judgments that I made based on observations, and that isn't really accurate, because I thought observations were just, it wasn't useful to make observations, or that was what I thought. Because like if I were to walk around school and make observations and note them down, it's simply like I can just look at my memory box and just think, these are the few things that are in FC4, so like I'll just write them down, or people talking, all that. But then when you gave us like a point, when you told us like you cannot make any judgments, it really made me come out with better insights, which I thought was a core difference between the design thinking in BMD and the design thinking in SIP. So I really thought that was quite interesting, and I think my group didn't really do a good job of design thinking, even though I thought design thinking was in BMD was more useful, because we had to come up with an idea very last minute because our scooter idea was rejected. So flip was a really very last minute thing, and we had to reverse engineer our design thinking, which made everything like it made the design thinking sound very good, because everything was based on sound observations and sound insights that we have made. But it's obviously sound because all these are based on a product or idea that we have already developed, and that's why it sounds right. Next, for value proposition, I really think my team did a very good job with coming out with the value proposition. I think our value proposition is probably one of, if not the best of the few groups, because we really our value proposition is really trying to solve an important issue, and it's really addressing something that probably hits the heart of many of us teenagers and even some working adults. Like, we are always on our phones, we don't want to talk to others, and I believe that this is a real social issue. I'm not sure if our phone covers can solve this social issue, but I believe that if people try it and if it works, I think it's a very strong value proposition that we have created for our product. And it's probably the only thing and the strongest factor in differentiating us from our competitors. So I think that's really interesting. I didn't know that a value proposition would be that important in a business until I actually learned about this concept in this module. Next will be the entrepreneurship thought and action. Like before, just now, I already mentioned that it really helped us think a lot and look back. So I think my group has been pretty resourceful in doing the entrepreneurship thought and action. Like, we really had to look back a lot of times at the ideas we had and really look at what we are trying to solve. Like, when we think of our phone cover, then we thought about the deaf and mute community, but we didn't really know how to make it work to that extent. So I guess by using this framework, we thought, hey, maybe we can work with other organizations, and then we reached out to them, and then they showed interest in working with us, which is really interesting to me. Like, without this framework, I wouldn't really have thought about working with other partners of similar interest to us. Like, I'll just think, hey, our value prop is strong, we are helping the deaf and mute community, but we wouldn't really try to like substantiate the fact that we are working with all these companies. And if our consumers don't think that we are really serious about helping the deaf and mute community, they won't buy into our idea. So, and that's why I really feel that using this framework actually helps the business as a whole, because it makes us understand the business more, but not only that, it also helps the consumer understand our business more, which is quite cool. So next, for financials. So I think my group hasn't been very resourceful in financials, and to be honest, it's also because like we don't really know how to do a financial model. Like, we weren't really taught a financial model per se. Like, we did learn about Kickstarter, all these, but I felt that our business isn't really something that had to be kickstarted because we have relatively low startup costs. We only have to rent a place to sell our phone covers. We only have to purchase a bulk phone cover, which isn't that expensive. Let's say we buy 100 at the start. It only costs us $50. It's really that cheap. I can come up with it myself, and I'm sure like the five of us can definitely come up with it. So we didn't really need Kickstarter to like fund our business because it isn't like a very it wasn't an idea that really needed much technology, which will cost a lot of money. Yeah, so the financial part, like our financial model, we also all our financial model is based on assumptions, so I think it's not really accurate. And like we kept on forgetting to times 12 for the number of months in 1 year, so our profit at first was like 40,000, but when we realized we had to times 12, then it's like a whole lot more, which made us think like wow, our business where got so good, right? But it's like obviously not lah. Like I feel like we have made a lot of assumptions, too much assumptions, like to a point where we feel like, let's say we are emulating the company Tom's so we look at their success and then we think, hey, maybe we'll be as successful as them. So we actually thought like, let's put our financial model and compare it with Tom's, and then like make a similar financial model based on like the number of sales that Tom's had. So I guess that's why we had so much profits. But I guess it's also because we don't really know how to do a proper financial model. So for the third question, it's how will this module actually impact me personally or my future career, and what plans I have actually made to actually execute all this newly acquired knowledge or skills. So the first thing I talk about is value proposition again, which is really my biggest takeaway from this whole module. So I really think that from this value proposition thing, I can really use it for my future business if I were to start a business. Like I really think that any business needs a strong value proposition, and even no matter how good my product is, I need to have a very good value proposition as well as a very good USP. And that's why I think next time for my business, I'll definitely input a very strong value prop and actually like think of it over and over and over again. Because for my group, for the flip phone cover, we actually thought of the value proposition over a very extended period of time, and that's one of the reasons why our value proposition is so strong. It's because we made several revisions to it. We started off with a pretty weak one, which was like self-expression, but then it developed into one which is like putting down your phone cover, solving a real social issue, like helping the deaf and mute community. All this is really like, this whole movement is really very strong as compared to like just selling a phone cover for self-expression. So I guess for my future business, I'll definitely input this idea of a strong value proposition, because I really think that is what will make my business work. And second will be the business mindset. So I came into this course thinking that I wanted to be an entrepreneur in the future, but I'm also not very sure like what I wanted. So I guess this module really helped to set me straight, because over this year and a half I've just been floating. Like honestly, I never really thought much about what I want in the future, because all the modules I've learned are hugely irrelevant to me or whatever paths I want to take in the future. Like honestly, I think I've forgotten every single module taught to me, like all the theory wise, but it's only the projects or where ever I need application, those are the parts that I really remember, and that's why I think this module will be one that I'll definitely remember, and it really made me want to go out and think of an idea and execute that idea, because I really feel like I should really start now, because I can fail now, but when I'm 40, when I'm 50, I won't be that willing to take any more risks. Like right now, when I fail, I still have my parents to back me up. I still have my friends, everything. But in the future, when I fail, it's like I might have my own kids. I cannot really be a financial burden anymore. But right now, I still have that option, and that's why I really think this module has really helped me grow an entrepreneurship mindset. And I would really like to thank you as my lecturer, because I really think that you have you have changed me in terms of like thinking and like the way I want to do things. Like at first, you even changed my ambition, to be honest. Like at first I just thought I want to be an insurance agent. Like part of me came into this course wanting to be an entrepreneur, but over the 1.5 years that actually diminished, because I feel like what I'm learning now isn't really relevant to me to becoming an entrepreneur in the future until I learn this module. And like the spark to be an entrepreneur had actually died during that 1.5 years. But I guess you helped me revive it, and I'm really thankful for it, because right now I think you have opened up a whole new pathway for me, and I really, like from the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank you, because it made me think like I really need to do something right now, and I plan to do something. I think for my internship in year 3, I want to work at a startup company, and I think that will really teach me the ways to be a real entrepreneur. Like I'll be able to learn a lot from there, and then after that, maybe from there I'll learn how to start my own business. So I guess this is it for my reflection. So I guess it has been really, really long. I didn't even expect it to be this long, but I really hope that this module will actually be kept in the future. Like honestly, I think it will help a lot of students to actually reach the entrepreneur or become the entrepreneur they want to be. So yeah, thank you.